Have you felt an uncanny hush settling over your life, like the world around you just exhaled and left you hanging in midair? When your once-obsessive goals turn flavorless, conversations echo with emptiness, and a strange electricity throbs beneath the silence, it isn't burnout. It's the split second before a particle jumps or a new universe loads. That eerie lull is your higher self tugging you across timelines, because your quantum leap is queued up and the countdown has already begun. Quantum jumps aren't out of reach science fiction. They're wired into the fabric of reality, and you've lived through them more often than you realize. In the lab, when an electron absorbs just the right burst of energy, it doesn't inch its way up the atomic ladder. It vanishes from one orbit and materializes in the next in less time than any stopwatch could log. There's no halfway snapshot, no lingering trail. Just now you see it here, now you see it there. That same zero-to-everything mechanism echoes through your own experience. Remember the relationship that felt stagnant for years until in one midnight conversation, the truth surfaced so cleanly you both knew it was over. Or the job hunt that dragged on for months and then exploded with 3 offers the week you finally stopped stressing. Those weren't coincidences. They were macro-scale quantum jumps, instant, discontinuous upgrades once your internal signal reached a tipping point. Here's the bridge scientists and mystics quietly agree on. Matter follows momentum, but momentum follows frequency. Your thoughts, emotions, and core beliefs form a broadcast that the quantum field reads like sheet music. As soon as your internal note shifts through insight, surrender, or sheer exhaustion of the old pattern, the universe doesn't walk your circumstances forward. It rearranges them to match the new chord you just struck. This is why ancient initiates spoke of crossing thresholds, and modern coaches hype overnight success. Both are pointing to the same moment, the energetic click when potentials collapse into one lived reality. You rarely spot it in real time because the shift feels as natural as stepping from shadow into sunlight. But when you take inventory later, you'll notice the scenery changed without a visible bridge in between. So if your life lately seems blurry at the edges, as though parts of it are lagging while something unseen loads in the background, relax. You're not stuck in limbo. You're standing in the split-second gap an electron occupies mid-jump. The staircase you've been looking for was never there because quantum leaps don't climb, they teleport. And your next destination is already pinging back a signal, waiting for your inner frequency to finish dialing in. It usually begins with a low-grade restlessness no productivity hack can smother. The podcast that once lit a fire in your belly now drones like elevator music. Your favorite gym playlist feels like someone else's nostalgia, and the goals that once yanked you out of bed at dawn suddenly look like outdated software trying to run on hardware you've already upgraded. You aren't losing passion. You're shedding a frequency that has no more business steering your life. The shift creeps into sensory details too. Food textures change, coffee tastes oddly metallic or absurdly perfect, as if your taste buds are recalibrating. Rooms you've loved for years feel claustrophobic, while places you ignored start humming with possibility. Even time misbehaves, evenings stretch, weekdays blur, entire hours evaporate without explanation. That temporal wobble is the quantum field tugging at the fabric of your schedule, asking you to loosen your white-knuckle grip on linear progress. Relationships echo the same pattern. A friend's joke lands flat and exposes the tectonic drift between your worldviews. Small talk feels like chewing paper. You catch yourself pausing before you reply, wondering who exactly is speaking through your mouth because the sentence forming in your mind sounds ancient, like it belongs to a version of you that never signed today's lease on life. Those awkward silences aren't social glitches. They're seismic readings showing 2 energetic plates sliding apart. Physiology adds its own clues. Sleep grows feather-light or bottomless. Appetite flip-flops. Skin tingles where no breeze exists. The body is the first responder to any vibrational upgrade, reorganizing hormonal chemistry and neural wiring so quickly that traditional self-care feels irrelevant or even counterproductive. Rest when you're wired, move when you're sleepy. Trust the paradox. It's your nervous system dry running the bandwidth of a timeline not yet visible. Here's the critical reframe. Boredom, detachment, and odd bodily signals are not red flags to fix. They're green lights to follow. Treat every pang of disinterest as a breadcrumb pointing to what no longer aligns, and every jolt of curiosity as evidence of the corridor opening ahead. Because the calm void that unsettles you today is about to erupt into micro-sparks of synchronicity, previewing a reality already downloading, and that's the territory we're stepping into next. Picture the moment the house lights dim before a concert. The charged hush isn't inactivity, it's orchestration in disguise. Inside your biology, An identical hush takes over when a quantum jump approaches. Cortisol levels dip, dopamine spikes flatten, and the brain waves that normally sprint in beta settle into the dreamy sway of alpha and theta. Neuroscientists call this spontaneous neural downstate, a kind of maintenance window when the cortex pulls the plugs on outdated circuitry so new synaptic wiring can be laid without blowing a fuse. Translation: your sudden craving for midday naps or moonlit walks isn't laziness, it's firmware updating itself to read a higher energetic code. The void often masquerades as nothingness, but it's dense with untranslated data. Spiritual traditions have mapped it for millennia. The Buddhist Bardo, the shamanic underworld, St. John's Dark Night, all agree on one point: the silence is fertile, not barren. Under the metaphorical soil, your beliefs, habits, and emotional reflexes decompose into nutrient-rich compost for the identity that's about to sprout. Your only real job here is to resist the cultural obsession with constant productivity. Every time you try to bulldoze the quiet with busywork or doom scrolling, you scatter the quantum seeds before they germinate. Physical space mirrors the recalibration too. You may feel inexplicably compelled to declutter a closet at 2 a.m. or rearrange furniture you were once content with. From the outside, it looks like random nesting. On an energetic level, you're staging an environment that can conduct the voltage of your next timeline without short-circuiting. Even the way you breathe shifts. Notice those spontaneous, deeper-than-usual exhales. They're pressure valves venting the stale electromagnetic residue of your previous frequency. Yet the mind hates a blank page. It will label the lull wasted time, push you to recreate the rush of the old orbit, beg for to-do lists and dopamine hits. Let it tantrum. Imagine you're watching a toddler tire himself out before nap time. The noise will fade if you don't feed it. Sit with the fidgety discomfort, light a candle, stare at the ceiling, journal nonsense if you must. The point is to stay conscious inside the stillness long enough for a new rhythm to reveal itself. Because make no mistake, silence is not the finish line. It's the inhale before the conversational universe clears its throat. In the coming phase, that hush will fracture into sparks. Odd coincidences, numeric nudges, déjà vu streaks that confirm the recalibration is taking hold. Hold your nerve. The quiet is about to speak in synchronicities, and your assignment is to understand their language rather than drown them out with old noise. Silence rarely stays silent for long. Once the void has pried your fingers off the old timeline, reality begins answering with a Morse code of coincidences so precise you'd swear the universe picked up a typewriter. It starts innocently. You open a book at random and land on a sentence that sums up last night's dilemma. You glance at the microwave, 12:12, then see the same digits on a billboard 5 minutes later. Those repeating numbers aren't just New Age folklore. Cognitive science studies on the reticular activating system show that the brain spotlights stimuli matching your dominant thoughts, and the quantum field responds by stacking tangible confirmations on top of that neural bias. Translation: you set the search term, the cosmos delivers the results. Sometimes the breadcrumb looks like a glitch in the matrix. A song you loved as a teenager and haven't heard in years erupts from a stranger's phone, replaying the exact lyric you mumbled in yesterday's journal. Or you dream of an emerald green door, wake up, scroll your feed, and there's an influencer posing in front of one. The statistical odds are absurd, yet the phenomena persist because synchronicity is the field's most efficient language. Words take time, matching vibrational patterns rendezvous instantly. Your body receives its own push notifications. A scalp-tingling rush surges during a mundane staff meeting as if someone turned up the volume on an invisible amp. Heat pools in your palms while you're idling at a red light, and seconds later a billboard flashes the name of a city you've been secretly longing to visit. These somatic pings are not random quirks of circulation. They're electromagnetic eruptions triggered by coherence between your heart's rhythm and an approaching probability wave. Heart rate variability research even shows that the cardiac field can entrain surrounding energy up to 3 feet away, priming you to recognize the external echo the moment it appears. The signals escalate the closer the jump gets. Déjà vu loops extend longer, like film frames repeating before the reel changes. Digital clocks freeze on palindromes. People you haven't thought of in years reach out within hours of you reminiscing about them. Skeptics call it confirmation bias. Seasoned shifters recognize a breadcrumb trail designed to shepherd you across timelines without triggering existential vertigo. The more openly you acknowledge these subtleties, whisper noted under your breath, jot them in your phone, the denser and faster the clues arrive, tightening the feedback loop until doubt feels mathematically illogical. Yet there's a behavioral catch. Chase the signs with hungry eyes and they scatter like fireflies. Observe them with calm curiosity and they cluster into constellations. Your task isn't to hunt, but to witness. Treat each wink from the universe as a road flare marking the route, not a lottery ticket to be scratched for instant answers. Keep your nervous system in idle, thank the field for every wink, and watch how effortlessly the next one appears. Soon, however, the breadcrumbs morph into something stormier, your emotions. Just when the synchronicities hit a crescendo, mood swings can spike like rogue waves, testing whether you can stay calibrated while two timelines overlap. That emotional seesaw isn't regression, it's the final compression before collapse, and mastering it is the key to sealing the leap. That's exactly where we turn next. Just when it seems the universe is hand-delivering clues at every corner, your inner landscape can flip from high-definition optimism to grainy static without warning. One sunrise, you're humming with certainty, sensing that everything is aligning behind the scenes. Yet by nightfall, you're adrift in an undertow of what if none of this is real. That whiplash isn't proof you're failing. It's the energetic equivalent of two radio stations bleeding into the same speaker while the dial slides toward its final setting. Neuroscientists label the turmoil prediction error. Your brain continuously forecasts your next moment based on archived experience. But the quantum breadcrumbs you've been following feed it data that no longer matches its memory bank. Dopamine, the chemical of anticipation, surges, then plummets, creating emotional seesaws as the mind scrambles to reconcile two conflicting scripts, the familiar orbit it can predict versus the emergent timeline it can't yet model. Spiritually, you're straddling superposition, occupying both realities at once, until a single decisive choice collapses the wave. Paradoxically, resisting these swings only amplifies them. Every time you label the surge of doubt a sign you're off track. You pump cortisol into the bloodstream, sharpening the old neural grooves you're trying to retire. The antidote is conscious neutrality, treating euphoria and anxiety as equal-value data packets, neither coronated as truth nor banished as failure. A slow inhale through the nose, a 5-second pause at the top, and an unhurried exhale signals the vagus nerve to settle your physiology. That calm pulse whispers to the field, "I can hold this bandwidth," and the oscillation begins to taper. Over time, you'll notice the peaks shortening, the valleys filling, until a quiet plateau emerges, a signal that coherence is about to lock in. Welcome that stillness. It's the hush before the quantum click. Because the true leap rarely arrives with fireworks, more often it lands in a soft exhale so natural you might miss it, unless you understand what silence really sounds like. And that silent snap-over is exactly where we're heading next. One morning, the turbulence is simply gone. You notice it first in the mundane. The coffee tastes richer, as if the beans themselves leveled up overnight. A lingering muscle knot that mocked every stretch routine has vanished. The traffic that usually triggers a silent monologue of complaints feels like background choreography instead of obstruction. Nothing dramatic announces the shift, yet every sensory register hums at a softer, higher pitch. In quantum mechanics, observers can't film an electron mid-transition because the leap is instantaneous. Likewise, the moment your timeline clicks over, there's no cinematic flash, just the unmistakable sense that the air pressure in your life has changed. Neurology explains the hush. When new neural pathways finally outcompete the old, the brain stops burning glucose on internal tug-of-wars. Default mode chatter dims, freeing bandwidth for subtle perception. That's why coincidences spike right after the snap-over. Your cognitive aperture has widened, catching synchronicities that were always there but lost in the static. Spiritual teachings call this the arrival, the point where desire graduates into embodiment. You're no longer affirming a future self. You're operating from it, and the field responds with a latency so low it feels like telepathy. But the quiet can feel suspicious to a mind addicted to intensity. Doubt may creep in. Shouldn't transformation feel louder, bigger? Resist the urge to prod the quantum for proof, the way someone pinches a healing scab just to see if it still hurts. Constant testing shakes wet cement. Patience lets it cure. Instead, lean into micro-rituals that tell the universe, "I accept this new baseline." Walk slower, chew deliberately, let uncomfortable pauses in conversation hang without nervous laughter. Every act of unhurried presence reinforces the frequency that made the leap possible. Still, the arrival isn't a finish line, it's a door to deeper territory. Your nervous system, while calmer, is handling higher voltage, so grounding practices, barefoot walks, long exhales, salt baths help anchor the upgrade in your somatic circuitry. Think of a freshly installed operating system. It runs, but background indexing continues for days. Treat sleep as sacred. Hydrate like you're rinsing old code, and follow intuitive nudges even when they defy logic. The field is now mirroring your subtlest impulses with uncanny speed. A random urge to detour on your commute might place you beside the very person who catalyzes your next adventure. Embrace the softness, because its silence is anything but empty. It's the resonance of two once separate realities snapping into perfect overlap. No seam, no lag, just the effortless hum of a life that finally matches the signal you've been broadcasting all along. When the snap-over hush settles in, life often stages what looks like a cruel joke. Just as you begin to breathe easier, ghosts from the old timeline shuffle back on stage. The ex who siphoned your energy pings with a "Hey stranger." A last-minute expense threatens your newly balanced budget, or an outdated insecurity flares when a colleague's offhand remark lands like a dart. It feels as though the universe is grading you with a red pen, but the examiner is actually your own subconscious auto-running one last diagnostic to decide whether the legacy code survives or gets wiped. Here's how it works. Every belief you've rehearsed has a corresponding neural circuit eager to conserve energy by firing the familiar pattern. When you upgraded your frequency, those circuits lost priority, but they didn't vanish. They linger like dormant phone apps, waiting for a push notification or trigger to reload. If you bite, spiral into scarcity panic, clap back with sarcastic heat, or doom scroll for validation, you feed the obsolete software, and the field registers ambiguity about which reality to render. But respond from calm embodiment, pause, breathe, offer gratitude, set a boundary without drama, and the old circuit starves while the new one strengthens. Think of each trigger as a ceremonial doorway rather than a booby trap. The text from an old flame becomes a chance to practice self-respect. The surprise bill is an invitation to affirm abundance. The snide comment offers a masterclass in neutral observation. One upgraded response after another collapses the remaining probability waves of your former self until the frequency mismatch is resolved and the holograms flicker out. From the outside, it looks mundane. No lightning bolts, no applause. But inside the quantum ledger, every aligned choice slams the door on a timeline that can no longer host you. A word of caution: the mind loves theatrics. It may frame these echoes as proof you're sliding backward. If I were truly evolved, why is this shot showing up again? Catch that narrative and replace it with a quieter truth. Resurfacing challenges mean you've shifted enough for the sediment to rise and be skimmed away. You can't purge what you haven't outgrown. So bless the friction, thank the mirror, and step through. The moment you string a few of these upgraded choices together, something clicks. The triggers lose their voltage, the holograms dissolve, and life feels startlingly spacious, as if a cluttered room was cleared overnight. That cleared space is coherence, and in it the quantum begins orbiting around you, not the other way around. Hold that note, because in the very next breath you'll discover how effortlessly reality organizes itself when struggle is no longer the soundtrack. Once the final test dissolves, the game board flips. Instead of chasing success, you'll notice the world reshuffling itself to mirror the signal you emit. An email offering the exact opportunity you journal manifested pings as you sip tea. A wrong turn on a side street places you beside the mentor you've been visualizing. Money appears in forms your past self never considered. Tax refunds, forgotten royalties, a friend repaying an ancient favor. None of it feels forced. It's as if life has switched from dial-up to fiber optic, delivering results at the speed of your own clarity. This ease is coherence in action. In physics, a laser's cutting power comes from millions of photons marching in perfect lockstep. Scattered light can't toast bread, but synchronized light slices steel. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions align with the same precision, you become the human equivalent of that laser. Your internal broadcast stops drifting through conflicting frequencies, giving the quantum field a single, unmistakable command: render this. The universe, ever literal, obliges, often faster than your conscious mind can track. Yet coherence demands stewardship. The mind, marinated in decades of struggle conditioning, may grow twitchy in the silence and try to engineer fresh drama just to feel productive. Catch that impulse before it snowballs. Action taken from anxiety will jam the signal. Motion born of alignment amplifies it. Begin each day in stillness. 5 unhurried breaths before your phone wakes. Treat every bodily sensation as a status report. Tight shoulders are a request for pause. A spontaneous surge of excitement is a green light. Whisper thank you for small wins. A seat on a packed train, a barista upgrading your drink, because acknowledgement stitches micro-evidence into the fabric of your nervous system, teaching it that ease is the new normal. Over weeks, you'll notice a subtler shift. Goals morph into preferences, urgency into curiosity. You no longer script how a desire must arrive. You hold the essence, let the field handle logistics, and watch outcomes exceed specifications your old self considered realistic. Influence ripples outward too. Friends report breakthroughs after a single conversation. Strangers feel inexplicably safe around you. Coherence is contagious. Your stabilized frequency entrains the environments you enter, nudging them toward harmony without a word. Keep this cadence and life keeps widening the sandbox. Projects with global reach, relationships rooted in soul-level resonance, adventures your former timeline had no coordinates for. And when the hush of neutrality starts to feel strangely familiar, when calm feels almost too calm, smile. That tingling anticipation isn't restlessness, it's the universe cycling up for the next quantum jump, inviting you to level up all over again, but from a baseline where miracles have become standard operating procedure. If your life has felt like a long inhale, quiet, tense, and strangely weightless, recognize it for what it is. The bowstring drawn, the orchestra hushed before the downbeat, the electron poised between orbits. You've seen how the stillness signals recalibration, how micro-synchronicities whisper coordinates, how emotional whiplash is the field's final attempt to verify your stability, and how a single conscious choice can collapse probabilities into a brand new timeline. It all leads here, to the subtle soft landing where reality molds itself around your coherent signal. Now the next move is yours. Will you slip back into the comfort of noise, or will you claim the silence as proof that the shift is already underway? If you're ready to lock in the frequency of the life that's been courting you from just beyond the curtain, drop a quick "I'm ready" in the comments and let that public declaration reverberate through the quantum. Then close your eyes. Feel the quiet hum inside your chest, and know that hum is the sound of a new reality downloading, one breath, one choice, one impeccably timed synchronicity at a time. Stay present, stay coherent, and I'll meet you on the other side of the leap.